With that, I will turn it over to Mrs. Balu, and she will give a brief introduction to CocoaTown for those that may be joining us for the first time.
Okay, yeah. Good day to all of you. We welcome you for this webinar on using the regional flavors and what things we need to consider, because everybody wants to be unique and they are trying experimenting with a lot of different things. So that's the purpose of our meeting today. And I just want to give a 2-minute introduction about CocoaTown. CocoaTown, in our, our purpose is to create and empower chocopreneurs around the world. And our vision is to be the one-stop shop for chocopreneurs and foodpreneurs, through and then expanding the line of technologically advanced equipment. And then we provide a lot of education and the amplifying voices of the farmers and micro businesses all over the world. And we also want to create a caring customer, centric, compassionate CocoaTown of family and chocolate community. So we bring up a lot of different topics that we think, everybody will be interested. So we always invite suggestions from all of you to make this better and bring it more topics, whichever you are interested in. And then our history, if you look at it, we started in 1992 as a trading company for specialty kitchen equipment. But as a small business, we had to always pivot. So when 2008, when the recession hit, we wanted to diversify. That's when in 2009, we started the CocoaTown. We were selling the machines for chocolate industry from 2006, but under our parent company name. And so far, we have been very pioneer in creating new machines, and also our culture is innovation and customer service. And we have three big pillars: equipment, education, and network. Equipment, we have the machines for all the different sizes and all the steps that you need. That has helped almost over like about 2 to 3,000 people around the world. And education, again, 5,000 people have participated in our webinars in the past 2 years. And then networking, we use this webinar as a networking event, and also we use the share the mic feature on our social media to share your stories. So if you are a business and you want to amplify your business to the rest of the world, please send us the information. We'll be glad to share your information. We have about 3,000 followers on Instagram and 3,000 followers on Facebook. So it'll give you more exposure, because you want to grow your business, you want to network with other people, and we want to be one of those people who can guide you or help you making this connection. And then when we created the Bean to Bar movement, before that, anybody wanted to make chocolate, they had to have millions of dollars and big facility and a lot of specialized skills. But we changed it, and people could start with the initial, low investment and also minimal footprint. All our machines that you see on the side, which is like a entry level machines, you can fit in a 6 feet table, long tables. So you need a 10 by 10 room, and you can do the process from your place. And a lot of our customers, they started in their apartment and go to the farmers market, sell the chocolate, get the feedback, and then go into a commercial place and grow big. And then also basic knowledge. You don't need a specialized knowledge to operate our machines. We make it simple because we sell all over the world. We want to make sure anyone, anywhere in the world can fix it if there's a problem. They don't have to wait for some technician to come there and fix them. And we are, here not just creating, we also want to sustain it. So we help, for example, in end of November, October, they have the Salon de Chocolate event coming in Paris, and we are trying to help 2 or 3 of our customers to exhibit there with the subsidizing their fees to, and they'll be sharing the booth, and we will be subsidizing their cost of the booth. And also our prices are very transparent. A lot of people, they say you ask for a price code and they don't know how much you are paying compared to what your neighbor paid, but our prices are all on the website and we are very transparent. We treat all the customers equal, and we give assistance to farmers, nonprofits, and small businesses. And this is like an example of some of our customers, Cross Atlantic Chocolate Collective. Some of them are our customers, and we have a lot of customers from the laboratories to all the way to the dandelion, which started in their garage and grew to a international company. But now they have outgrown our machines, and now they are going into the ball mill. So people can expand their business as much as they want. And then we always pay attention to the quality in everything we sell. And these are the machines. Now we also have added the tempering machines to our list this year. So you will see the information soon. So we thank you, and you know where to find us. You can, we are at CocoaTown.com, and you can email us. You can message us through the social media. We would like to hear from you. Any problems, any successes, we would like to share your successes to other people, and problems, we'll try to help you as much as we can. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So,
okay. Some folks are still joining, so if I seem like I'm a little distracted, I'm going to be trying to let them in. But so welcome everyone. And if you're able and you're willing and you would like to, we'd love it if you turn on your camera so we can see you. Now we understand if you're in a remote area, turning on your camera may affect your bandwidth. And so if you have some input or you'd like to be involved in the conversation and don't want to turn on your camera, that's okay. You can open your mic. So the conversation today that we'd like to have is about regional flavors, regional ingredients that you may use in your chocolate products, whether it be bars or bonbon or any other way that you incorporate regional ingredients in your company. I mean, it may be ingredients local to where you are, or also you may be sourcing special ingredients, and you can share with us about how that works for you. So I'll start off with the first question is, what unique local or regional ingredients are you currently using? Anybody want to share? Jump right in and share. Now, I will tell you, there is reactions at the bottom, and you can open that, and there's a raise hand feature, or you can do as I just saw Roya do, you can like physically raise your hand, and we'll get the conversation started. Roya, feel free to open your mic.
Oh, thank you so much. Again, hello, everybody. Good day around the world, and wish you all the best. Yeah, this is Roya. Thank you so much, CocoaTown, Theresa, and Ms. Balu for having me. We are locally and based in California. The company is in the California, but we ship all over the USA. The regional ingredients that we are using in our chocolate is dates, and that's the California ground medjool dates. So this is the regional ingredients we specifically use, and the other regional ingredients is pistachio. So these are two main ingredients that regionally, grown in California, and we are using as a kind of ingredients in our chocolate.
Wonderful.
If you don't mind, sorry. If you don't mind, can you just say, incorporating dates, what is the challenge and what people have to look for if they want to incorporate it? So if you can give that tips also, that will help the participants.
I was going to get to that, Mrs. Balu. Give everybody a chance to answer the first question.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. If I want to get into that question, it's a kind of challenging process, and we are trying to solve this challenge if we want to scale that and grow bigger and bigger, because the biggest challenge is about the density of the dates, because people are in the chocolate industry, and you know that when you want a kind of a special nozzle that the dates paste come out of that and then get into the mold, there is a big challenges. So yeah, the density and viscosity of the dates sometimes is, a big challenge, but we are trying to solve that. So technically we infuse date paste in the chocolate. Yeah, so it's not like kind of deep dates in chocolate, like a kind of a strawberry dip, it's not like that. We use date paste and infuse that in the mold. Yeah, that's the way we incorporate into the chocolate. Did I answer the question?
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
I noticed Irene, I think Irene had her hand up. She was on screen, but she went away. But I want to give an opportunity for her to open her mic if she would like to share. Irene, did you want to tell us about ingredients that you're using? And if you don't want to come back on camera, that's okay. You can open your mic and we can hear you.
Hello, do I have?
Well, while we wait for Irene, I see Leticia might want to. Oh, here she comes. Oh, there she went.
We are here.
Welcome.
And the first time I am starting with my fermentation in my farm. I'm not produced yet chocolate, but I am learning a lot. And to me, it's very important to hear you. You have a lot of experience, and it's the opportunity to learn before to start the production of chocolate.
Thank you, Irene. Can you tell us where you are?
I'm from Nicaragua. I live in Managua, but my farm is 100 kilometers from my home.
Very nice. So you're not making chocolate yet, but I'm sure that you're already thinking about it. So as you're thinking about it, are there ingredients local to where you are that you might include in your chocolates?
Yes, I'm chemical engineer. And for example, in this moment, we have production of mandarinas and guayabas. And we are doing marmalade to introduce in our chocolate. Is one of the ideas in order to use the fruit that we have in our country.
Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful.
Very important.
Yes, yes. I see Julie has her hand raised from Maybird Confections in Georgia.
Hi, how are you doing?
Wonderful, welcome.
Thank you. Sorry, forgot my webcam, and so weird angle from my computer. Anyway, first of all, I am fairly new to making chocolate. Just started doing that around September, October of last year. I started off making candy, specifically toffee, and using purchased chocolate for that until I started making my own chocolate, which is, of course, so much more fun and better quality and all of that. But a lot of the ways that I love incorporating local ingredients, I love partnerships with others who are around me. And I've done more of that so far in the toffee part than I've had an opportunity to do in the chocolate itself. But things that I've done include like doing a coffee toffee using some locally roasted coffee. And I live in Atlanta, Georgia in the US. And so growing coffee, growing cocoa beans around here, that doesn't really work. But there is a female coffee roaster who buys from a lot of female coffee producers. And she and I both used to be at the same shared kitchen. We both have our own spaces now, but I buy espresso from her and use that to make coffee toffee. I also buy espresso beans from, or freshly roasted espresso beans from her. And I've started panning, and so I make the chocolate covered espresso beans from at least locally roasted coffee. I have a newish customer friend, wholesale customer and friend, who is a coffee farmer from Jamaica, and he grows Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee beans. And we started, he had been sending his beans across the country to cover those with chocolate. And he had noticed that I had, looking in the window, he saw I had the panning machine. And so he came and introduced himself, and we started talking about my doing the panning for him. And so I now get to do that. And one of the things that we haven't had a chance to do yet, but plan to do, is bring in cocoa beans from Jamaica. He had a sample for me, but it's held up in customs. So he imports coffee, but he didn't have the stuff for cocoa beans yet. But eventually the plan is to bring in Jamaican cocoa beans. I'll use those to make the chocolate that will then coat the Jamaican coffee beans. And I like the idea of pairing things that go together. And one of the things that we're also planning is I talked to him about what are the native and what are ingredients that, or what are other things that grow in Jamaica that could be incorporated in chocolate. And he mentioned a couple of different things, and I was like, oh, okay, those will work well. And so I'll be using those in the chocolate itself, and have a nicely spiced bar using in multiple ingredients from Jamaica with the Jamaican cocoa beans. So not native to Georgia, but keeping the regional ingredients together. Something else that I like to do that's more local is, one of my customers was a distillery that makes bourbon, and that had really deep roots in the area, like back before it was the father of the master distiller was making moonshine in the small local town that I live in, back before it was legal, or when it was not, probably before it was illegal, and then after during Prohibition. But anyway, now there is a wonderful distillery that is local to me that was carrying my products. And when I was making a batch of the coffee toffee, I started thinking, wait a minute, could I try this with bourbon instead of espresso? And I did, and they that's now one of their best sellers. It's one of my best sellers is the bourbon toffee, and I make it with two different versions of chocolate. I make it with the dark, and my primary couverture is made from some beans from Ecuador, and then a gold chocolate. I'm working on my own version, but still purchasing some till I get mine just right. I've also tried it with some chocolate that I made from some beans from Colombia, because the flavor notes mentioned whiskey. And I thought, okay, that should pair nicely with the bourbon chocolate. And so I tried 2 versions of dark chocolate to get feedback and got mixed response. You know, some people liked one, some better, some people liked the other, but bottom line, they were both great. So, but something that is getting ready to happen, since I'm making my own chocolate now, is I've talked to them about getting a cask, their empty cask, and that's going to be happening as soon as Andy has a chance to unload some. So he has some 5-gallon casks. So I'll be getting a cask and putting some nibs in that and letting them age for a while. And
That's very exciting.
bourbon chocolate. So looking forward to that. And I'm probably going to try it with a couple of different kinds of beans. I've also seen some chocolate made with red wine where they use the liquid and soaked the nibs in that and then dried it out. So that's another method, but I think I'll try aging in the cask first. So anyway, that will be something that can be directly incorporated in the chocolate.
Very nice. Well, you shared a lot of different ideas.
Okay.
So thank you. I want to really quickly, we've had a few people join in the last few minutes, so I just wanted to say welcome. And then also let you know what we're doing right now is just talking about what local flavors, ingredients you might be using in your recipes. So feel free to, as Mrs. Balu pointed out, there is a raise hand feature, or you can physically raise your hand. If you don't want to come on the mic and you don't want to turn on your camera, we would be happy if you can put it in the chat. Let's see, as I see, is that Risha? Risha has done. She's using, let's see, ginger, turmeric, and mangoes. Oh, she's aspiring to use those things because she hasn't started making chocolate yet. And welcome Pedro in Portugal. And I see, I think that's our friend Solomon Winky from Winky Chocolate joined. Anyone want to jump in and share more about what regional flavors or ingredients that they're using? All right, then I have another question. Both Roya and Julie touched on that they are sourcing ingredients from not necessarily within their region, but they're making partnerships and getting them from others outside of their local area. Well, Roya, you are using local. But my question is, are there any challenges in sourcing your ingredients when it's not growing on your farm or on your neighbor's farm? Are there any challenges that anyone can share that they've overcome when trying to source ingredients?
I can share. Yeah. Actually, when I started dates led, because dates is a kind of fruit that most of us, are aware of, that is coming. The origin comes from the Middle East countries. So at first I thought that, oh, maybe I need to import them from the Middle East and bring them here. So that was my first challenge, because honestly, I'm immigrant to the United States, and I immigrated 2013. And to be honest with you, I wasn't aware that, because I grew up back there, and I wasn't aware that in California, we have big farms of dates. So at the beginning, I had a lot of challenges. Oh my gosh, how I'm gonna import the dates from Middle East region to here. But after more research, I found out, in California, in Coachella Valley and Palm Springs, there are a lot of farms that growing dates. So the challenge, thank God, could get solved. So as of now, no, we don't have any problems, because everything is local and we can get dates, in California medjool dates. So at the beginning, yeah, it was a big challenge, but now everything is resolved, and yeah, it's okay now.
So you overcame the challenge by finding it a little bit closer to your back door.
Exactly, yeah, because when I had this idea from many, many years ago, because my mom is diabetic, so we always used to have dates. But when I wanted to start this business, I said, oh my gosh, how I'm gonna solve the problem? Then I said, oh, I'm in the state that we have a lot of dates. So now it's solved.
I see Leticia sharing that she uses ground nut, coconut, and cinnamon. And Pedro put in the chat that he's using nuts, coffee, raspberry, salted caramel, or salt and caramel. Pedro, are you able to open your mic and join the chat, join the conversation? Leticia, we see you back on camera. Do you want to come in and join the conversation?
Yes, yes. I'm enjoying the conversation.
What I was asking is, did you want to add to the conversation?
Yes, when I started initially, I started chocolate not long ago. We are women group, numbering over 600 women. All of us are having our own cocoa. So we decided to come together to improve our yield and also to improve our livelihood. So we decided to add value to our cocoa. And we started roasting to make nibs. Then last year, we decided to grind it into a chocolate. So normally we add some of the nibs into the chocolate and we add dried coconuts, grated coconuts, and then cinnamon and granules, because we have a lot of granules growing in the northern part of Ghana.
Wonderful. Very exciting. That leads me to a question. It's not on my list of questions, but since I work for a machine manufacturer and I think about the chocolate making process, can anyone talk about some challenges that they face with particular ingredients and within the chocolate making process, whether it be if you're if you're using nuts or other ingredients that you're roasting, was there any challenge in that? Or how are you incorporating them? Are you incorporating them in the melanger or the grinder or after? And if so, what are the challenges that you faced?
Well, with the coconuts, we don't add them in the melanger. As after when we are molding, then we sprinkle it in the mold. After we've grinded, that is where we add it. Yes, we don't
I see.
blend it together. Yes.
So
we
you added
it because
you added it.
I was afraid maybe the coconut oil may not blend well with the cocoa butter. So I was being careful. Yeah.
Oh, that makes me think of another question. Has anyone used dried coconut in their chocolate making process in the melanger that could talk about that for Leticia? Where it might be possible to use it in the grinder.
Hi everyone. Greetings from Kampala, Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. This is Solomon from Winky Farms Chocolate. Relatively new. We started out making chocolate the same time as Leticia did. CocoaTown has been a huge part of our journey. I think every melanger we have is a CocoaTown except for one Lavio Premier, but everything else is CocoaTown. My experience with coconut is that I tried to add dried, it's called desiccated coconut shred, they're shreddings basically. within the melanger, and I think the wheels kept slipping over, and the chocolate doesn't solidify as easily. It's more of a, I think the refining as well isn't as fine. You have a bit of what's the texture? It's not as smooth as it should be. So then, of course, after speaking to some other chocolate makers, they suggested probably using coconut oil and just a little bit of it. And then, you know, you add the desiccated coconut at the end as an inclusion. So that was my experience. Because of its oiliness, I think it's liquid at room temperature, something of a sort. It's something else I didn't understand. But yes, one of our ingredients, Mondia white tea, that's predominant in Africa. It's a rumored theoretical, a rumored aphrodisiac. We don't know whether it's true, but it's very, very popular here and in the region, basically East and Central Africa. We've exported a little bit of the chocolate, and people love the flavor profile. It's halfway between ginger and vanilla. And then I was very excited to see someone talk about bourbon toffee. If you have some awesome recipes you could share for caramels and toffee, I'd love them. We have a popular drink locally. It's called Uganda Waragi. It's a gin, and we make the bonbons, the truffles actually, made of the same, but it would be nice to have a toffee made of Waragi. It would be amazing, I'm sure. Yes, thank you.
Mrs. Balu, do you want to jump in and share?
Yeah, I just want to give some tips for people who want to use the coconut, because we have some customers in Canada and other places who use the coconut butter, like they call it coconut butter. What they do is they grate the coconut. See, in the bigger machines, they can put the pieces of coconut, it will grind because of the weight of the stone. But in the smaller melangers, the coconut is tough on the stones. Like you said, it will slip, it will not go under, it doesn't have space. So if they grate the coconut, or if they powder the coconut in the pre-grinder and then add the powder in the melanger first, and then they can make a paste separately, and then they grind the chocolate and then they mix it and see if that works. That way, the coconut is just grinding by itself, and it makes a very smooth paste. Because people make coconut milk, they make coconut cream, everything with our melanger, but the way you add it makes a difference. And I just had one question for Solomon. When you incorporated the coconut oil in the chocolate, did it affect the tempering process? Did you still get the shining? Or because I know that's also a fat, and in the tempering process, the specific kind of fat in the chocolate that where crystal 5 we call, that's what it comes more and gives you the shine. So does the coconut oil, when you're mixing it, how does it affect? I'm just curious.
Thank you for the insight, Mrs. Bala. I'll definitely try out the suggestions you've given and share some feedback. Tempering, it was very difficult to temper because I think I used too much. So there was more coconut oil than there was cocoa butter. And when we're tempering, we're trying to temper the cocoa butter in the chocolate. So it's more of a soft, I don't know, a soft chocolate mass, but it does well as a spread over time with the more coconut oil. I mean, we add in, so it's a beautiful spread. But we want to do it again and try and make a proper chocolate bar that's coconut. We will definitely take your advice. Thank you.
Right, excellent question and excellent feedback. Julie, I see you have your hand raised. You want to open your mic and join the conversation?
Yeah, just a couple of things on coconut. And first of all, I don't have firsthand experience with this, but just from hearing from others, a couple of things. One, I know, and I'm sure you do, that some of the first attempts at making dairy-free white chocolate, utilized coconut. I think now it's more common to use other types of tree nuts, but a lot of dairy-free milk chocolate, dairy-free white chocolate used coconut in place of the milk powder. My understanding is the kind that needs to be done. Of course, this makes it harder to use as a local ingredient, but a coconut dry milk powder, just like we use dry milk powder for the milk, just substitute in dry milk powder or the closest equivalent, because of course you want to get the liquid out, but having it in powder form, I know has been successful for a lot of people. With regards to the coconut oil, from a chocolatier standpoint, coconut oil is sometimes added to use the candies that are referred to as meltaways, like meltaways or other kinds that are designed to just almost melt instantly as soon as they're put in the mouth. And so to make a meltaway candy, you would take your chocolate and maybe, the peppermint oil or peppermint ground into the chocolate to make peppermint chocolate if necessary, but whatever. You take the chocolate and then you would add a small amount of coconut oil with that, and the combination of cocoa butter and coconut, the fat in cocoa butter and the lauric acid in the coconut oil working together gives a kind of a melting point that is different from either of those ingredients by themselves. But because because coconut butter melts at about 76 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm sorry, I do not know what that, I'm not good with, let's see. I can't find my Celsius chart, right? Temperature conversion chart, but because coconut oil melts lower than body temperature, anyway, as soon as it goes in the mouth, it melts. And so I think it would be incredibly hard to temper chocolate that had any significant amount of coconut oil in it or coconut fat. I think the solid portions would work much better. But the coconut oil is going to tend to make it very soft, and most chocolatiers would probably say, oh, you can't temper it if you've got coconut oil in it. Makes a great chocolate interior, but not for a molded chocolate or a chocolate bar. Thank you.
Mrs. Balu to the rescue.
Yes, awesome.
Okay, well, it's a great conversation. I want to just sort of shift a little bit and talk about the benefits of using these type of ingredients. And in the conversation already, they've been touched on. I think for me, what I got from Julie and Roya and other shares is it's an opportunity for making connection with others, community building. I think, who was it that shared? Someone else shared. Just want to look so I can call out the name. Oh, I believe it was Leticia or our friend from Nicaragua that is a value add. So if you're on a farm and you're growing other ingredients, it's a way to add more revenue. Would anyone like to share on the benefits of using these ingredients?
Okay. For me, I saw that people like the coconut a lot. And the first time I did it, I was just trying it. But like when I gave it out for people to taste. They recommended it a lot. So it motivated me to do more. And anytime I go for exhibition, they just ask for the coconut. So it's helped me to find out the taste of my customers.
Thank you. Thank you, Leticia. Great point. It helps you give your customers what they want. Anyone else? There's a lot of people in the gallery. We'd love to hear from you.
I see a
Whether
lot
you
of
put it
new
in the
people
chat. Sorry, Mrs. Balu, go ahead.
And I see a lot of new people joined, like Emilio and also our friend, from Suriname. Edgar, I don't know who's joined. So I just want to make sure if any of them want to, start the conversation.
Yes, all are welcome. This is a roundtable discussion, so everyone is welcome to give their input. If you're new and you're just joining and you are using some local ingredients or ingredients from another region, feel free to jump in and let us know what you're using.
I can go. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Will you first tell us who you are, where you're signing in from?
Yeah, my name's Reina. I am here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the Southwest. So I am a farmer also, so I grow lots of like vegetables and herbs. But I've been interested in using at least one local ingredient in each bar. So I've used local raspberries that I dehydrated, but I would like to figure out how to freeze dry some of these fresher ingredients, because it has like a different texture and the taste is a lot brighter, I think, for especially for fruits that are freeze dried. But I think that that equipment is kind of expensive, so I haven't been able to use it yet. But I've tried things like local salt and chili powder, but I have yet to incorporate nuts. We have a lot of pecan growers here in New Mexico, so I like to try to do a bar with pecans. So yeah, I'm always interested in figuring out how to incorporate some of our indigenous ancestral foods as well.
Wonderful, thank you. Very nice. As a as a fan of craft chocolate and someone that eats a lot of craft chocolate, one of the things that it does for me is it tells the story. It helps tell the story of where it intensifies the story of where the chocolate is coming from. I see Mrs. Balu, you want to say something. Oh, you're on mute. So you want to say something, but we don't hear you.
I'm sorry. No, I saw Julie has raised her hands. I want to know if she wants to add.
Hi, just in response to what a couple of things that Raina had said. First of all, as soon as you said New Mexico, I thought, oh, Hatch chili peppers. And some of the chocolates that I'm planning to do, I love the combination of peppers and chocolate, and that's in some of my plans, but they're not local to me in the way that you are. But I did recently, you mentioned raspberry. I did recently make a raspberry white chocolate bar using freeze-dried raspberry powder, and it was amazing. It was so good, and I'm planning to do the same with some other freeze-dried fruits. I'm especially interested in peaches. I'm frustrated because Georgia is the peach state. There are peach growers all over. I cannot find any local freeze-dried peach powder. There is a freeze dryer called Harvest Right is the brand, and I want one, but I don't have the money for one right now. It's about $2,500 to get a medium model. And but hopefully in the not too distant future, I'd love to get one of those so that I can freeze dry some of the local fruits myself. I finally found online some freeze-dried peach powder that was at least from the US, because when I checked a year ago, what I was finding was from China. I was like, I live in the peach state. I am not bringing freeze-dried peach powder over from China to make my chocolate. So I love the idea. I'm jealous that you've got raspberries on your farm. I adore raspberries. And the other nut, well, Georgia is also known for pecans and peanuts, and I use pecans a lot. I have not incorporated them in the chocolate yet, although I'm thinking about doing a chocolate pecan spread, sort of a pecan version of a Nutella sort of spread, but haven't had time to try it. But I just recently tried for the first time panning pecans, and so I now have some chocolate covered pecans, and I like buying my pecans, you know, I only buy Georgia pecans and buy them from the grower when possible. And so I did just start working with some chocolate covered pecans, and I mentioned earlier I do toffee, so almost 95% of my toffee is covered with chopped pecans. So it's not going in my chocolate yet, but it's inside of chocolate and on top of chocolate, and will hopefully be blended with chocolate soon.
Very nice. Raina, I noticed that you had your hand raised, but then it went back down. Did you want to comment?
Yeah, I was like thinking about just the whole process of adding like nuts inside the melanger, because wouldn't that also make it more of a like a spread? I guess it maybe depends how much you add. The nuts have a lot of oils in it, and it kind of makes it less like easy. I mean, it's not as easy to form it into bars, maybe.
Mrs. Balu? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to invite Mrs. Balu to come in and maybe speak about that, because we do have many customers that make nut spreads, nut butters, and maybe she can talk about the process of doing that, and then how does that work? Are you grinding chocolate and nuts at the same time, or?
See, some of our customers, they grind chocolate separately, the nuts separately, nut butters, and they mix it and sell it as a nut spread for their bread and everything. So that's another thing that you can look into. The one good thing is, especially in the cacao growing countries where the refrigeration is so harder, they can sell as a spread where they don't have to refrigerate, they don't have to worry about tempering and the shininess. And also they consume more as a spread because they use it on their bread and also their crepes. They have different forms of crepes in different countries. So that's one. Even here in US, people have started using a lot of spreads. So maybe look into that one. I don't have any direct experience of people, I have seen them use as, truffles and bonbons. And sometimes they, do it. But again, on the tempering, I have never asked them that question, how they're tempering it. So I don't have the right answer for the tempering part of it, but these are the suggestions you can try. Like, Solomon was saying, he was, adding and also I think Julie mentioned, you add the coconut oil at the end and it changes the melting temperature, but it maybe doesn't come as a chocolate, but it may be more like a confection that you can sell.
Come on in, Julie.
One of the concerns as a chocolatier is, of course, bloom and, sugar bloom and fat bloom, and nuts inside chocolate frequently cause fat bloom. And so if you have a bar and you try to add nuts just as an inclusion, not even grinding them into the chocolate, but just as an inclusion, then frequently the fats from those nuts migrate to the surface and they're going to cause fat bloom. And if you were covering nuts in chocolate, like the panning, a lot of times the recommendation is to caramelize them first, because to again prevent the migration of the fats from the nuts to going to the surface, causing the bloom on the surface, and so forth. And you'll get a longer shelf life. So I think nuts, when I know of nuts being used to make a chocolate bar, because that seems to be a common alternative for a dairy-free milk chocolate or a dairy-free white. The only thing I'm aware of is being used and working is a nut powder, where the nuts have been dried. I think a lot of the fats have been taken out, and you're using just sort of almost the defatted nut meal to go in and incorporate in the chocolate. But I think when too many fats from nuts are, even if they're not incorporated in chocolate, just used with chocolate, then that is going to cause bloom, and it would, I would think, interfere with tempering, because those fats are different than cocoa butter.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that caramelizing part, Julie, because I remember now, Theresa, I don't know if you remember when Maria and Chloe were there, they made it something called the praline. They made a caramelized the sugar, added the nuts, and then they powdered it in the mini pre-grinder and then ground it and then added it. So maybe, like she said, Julie said, the shelf life, you have to look into that. So that's why even the spreads, since it's consumed faster than the chocolate, maybe the shelf life is not that much concern, like having a chocolate bar which sits on the shelf for 3 to 6 months.
And one other thing that can be used with some ingredients that would to prevent the fat bloom is to basically cover that ingredient, like that nut, with a very light coating of cocoa butter. And then that keeps the nut fat, the cocoa butter is fine in, cocoa butter enclosed object is fine inside chocolate. And so you don't have the same issues that you would if the nut itself is directly in contact with the rest of the chocolate.
Roya, I noticed you have your hand raised. Come on in.
Oh, thank you so much. Actually, yeah, thank you to Julie to bring up these things. I want to add my experience regarding the nuts, because I'm using nuts in the filling of my chocolate. And Julie brought up a great point. Most of the nuts, especially walnut and pecan, they have a high level of fat. So in the long run, exactly, the fat blooming will be a kind of challenge. So what I did on my end, that's why I'm using pistachio more than the other nuts, because pistachio, has unsaturated fat. So the level of the fat in pistachio is less than walnut and pecan. So that's the kind of solution we have found it. And exactly as Julie well mentioned, that you can cover the nuts with some cocoa powder and something to prevent from fat blooming. But for myself, because the nuts incorporated with the date space, so technically the problem gets solved. But yeah, as my experience, I think pistachio is the best nut because it has very, very less unsaturated fat. That's the only thing I wanted to add. Thank you.
Leticia, I see that you've come back back on camera. Do you have something you want to add? Oh, it's okay. You can stay on camera. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't have something you wanted to add. You don't have to go away. We like seeing you. There's a lot of people in the gallery. We invite you to come on in and talk about what local ingredients, flavors that you're using in your business, or that you aspire to use, or if you have any questions for everyone else that's here in the gallery, where you can share your experience. They can share their experience with you. As Mrs. Balu says, don't be shy. Come on in. We want to hear from you. Okay, Julie, you're welcome to open your mic.
Sorry, I've got a question for Roya. Roya, you mentioned pistachios, and I have a good friend named Roya. She's Persian, and I know a classic Persian flavor combination that I personally adore is pistachios, rose, cardamom. And I've had some amazing, I think the chocolate, it wasn't the chocolate itself, but truffles and sort of a liquid truffle drinking chocolate from French Broad Chocolate in Asheville. And I was just curious if you've used that combination in making chocolates and or making chocolate bars or chocolates with those other ingredients. I've been thinking about it. I've got some dried rose petals, and so I know I want to do something with those ingredients together.
Can I answer? Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Jolie, for asking the question. Yeah, I'm Persian too. And the only reason that we started about adding pistachio, because in Iran, we have very, very high quality of pistachio, but because we didn't want to import from Middle East here, even California has a great, great quality grown pistachio. But the idea is come back home because the pistachio, as I mentioned, that has unsaturated fat. But get back to your question, based on my experience, I highly recommend that. But Ms. Balu is more experienced than me, but I think we shouldn't use nuts directly in the chocolate, but as a kind of filling. Because when we use that, because the level of the fat, the tempering would be a big challenge. But for making a bar, you can use as a kind of filling. Regarding rose petal, okay, rose petal dried in the long run, if you use it inside of the chocolate as a kind of filling, after 2 or 3 months, maybe you have experienced a kind of bitter taste, but you can always use it as a kind of decorative item on your chocolate because it gives you a great look and prevents from having a kind of bitterness. But if you use it inside in the long run, maybe it doesn't have a long shelf life.
Yeah, thanks. I've played with rose water some. It's a ganache, and I was thinking, since I recently made some raspberry chocolate and raspberry white chocolate, and I was thinking about how to do that. Raspberry and rose, of course, being related and going well together. And it's like, okay, maybe, I don't know, a rose ganache, but decorated with rose petals. But yeah, I think you're right. The petals probably wouldn't go good in the chocolate itself, and maybe stick all with as decorations or ganache.
Yeah, but ganache can be a kind of maybe solution better than rose water because water, gives moist and then it doesn't work with chocolate.
Well, that's what I mean. Using the rose water in the ganache.
Yeah. There is a company, they are based in United States. I'm gonna find out, put it in the chat. They have a great ingredients for the chocolate filling, like ganache and different, fillings. I think it's called Amoretti. I'm
Yes,
gonna find. Yeah, I think
been on
Amoretti,
their
maybe
site a
they
lot.
have that kind of rose ganache. If you can please check with them. Yeah.
I've gotten some rose water and rose petals. There's an amazing Persian restaurant and market that's actually one of my customers. That's about 3 miles away from my kitchen.
Oh,
And
that's nice.
so Ozzy gave me some Persian some Iranian pistachios and some of the rose petals that dried rose petals that she imports, and some of the candied orange that she had, and barberries. And so I played with those on top of toffee, and planning to try some other stuff, the something else, Sohanikom. And I want to learn to make that. I played with it, but I didn't have the right equipment last time I tried, and I haven't had time, but it's on my to-do list. But I love that combination of ingredients.
Wonderful. Great conversation. I want to quickly jump over to the chat because I see some things have come up in the chat. Risha says, in case I missed it, any experience with using fresh or dried fruits, fruit powders, either in bonbon or bars? Anyone want to field that question? Has anyone had experience using fresh or dried fruits or fruit
Shannon raised
powders?
her hand. Shannon raised her hand.
I think she's
Shannon,
gonna.
you can talk.
I guess I had the question that Letitia asked. I have not used fresh fruits, but I have used dried fruits and freeze-dried fruits. And with the dried fruits, I like the flavor of it, but it's hard to get it so that I don't get little chocolate pieces in the back of my teeth. So sometimes it's nice to grind the dried or the freeze-dried fruits. Seems to incorporate into the chocolate quite well. One of the questions that I had was related to knowing the amount of quantity to put in as an inclusion into chocolate. So I'm here in California's Monterey Peninsula, and I'm trying to use a lot of ingredients from the area. So I'll use artichoke in chocolate. I'll use strawberries, which are well known in the area. I've even tried adding anchovy dust, kind of as a combination of the sea and being near the ocean. And I put a lot of work into pulling together all of the inclusions, drying things and freeze drying things and chopping them up just right. And I have a hard time figuring out what my ratios should be. And so I'll have all my little cups of flavorings, and I'll have my bean to bar chocolate that I've just made, and I don't want to waste the chocolate, and I don't want to have it be too light of a flavor, and I don't want to have it be too strong of a flavor. So I just wonder, as others who have used inclusions, how is it that you get to the right quantity and figure out what your amount should be so that the chocolate has a pleasing taste at the end, not too light, not too strong?
Anyone have any input?
I used about 15% on my first test of the freeze-dried raspberries in a white chocolate. And Valrhona has a line called Inspirations of fruit chocolates. They have raspberry, strawberry, I think mango or passion fruit and an almond, and they're outrageously expensive. And I saw freeze-dried raspberry powder at Pastry Depot, which is local to me. I was like, oh, I want to try that. The 1.5 pounds cost about $125. So quite expensive as an ingredient. And then when I started looking at potential recipes, and I saw one for, not for raspberry, but for a peach chocolate. And so I sort of went with that and looked at the white chocolate recipe I had. Anyway, I did 15%, and the taste was delicious. It's not sweet. It's got the tartness from the raspberries. I could go down to 10%, I think, and still have good flavor, but I loved it at 15%. That made it about $20 a pound to produce. That was by far my most expensive ingredient. If you have access to large amounts, and especially if you're freeze drying it yourself, and I've started looking for other sources and I can get it for cheaper than that. But yeah, if you've got access to the ingredients and you can freeze dry it yourself, that'd be fantastic. But like I said, 15%, and I cut back on the milk powder and cut back on the sugar. And it was amazing. I mean, flavor was amazing. So I'm jealous, but you've got some great options.
Shannon, I have a question for you. You said you used artichokes. Can you tell us how did you use and how did it taste? Because I have eaten artichoke as a vegetable, but I'm really curious to know more about it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I have a bar here. It's Castroville, which is a nearby community in California, and it's the artichoke growing capital of the world. And so I figured, here I am in the artichoke capital, I should put artichokes in my chocolate. And I'd say I'd probably give myself a B- or a C as a grade for how it turned out, but I'm still practicing. I just did my first demo bar. And so what I did is I got packaged grilled artichokes. So the artichoke heart had already been grilled and they were put in an oil, typically used like for tapas or an appetizer, or cut up and put into savory cooking. And so then I put those in my dehydrator, and I dehydrated them so that it took all the liquid oil out. And then I chopped it really finely. And then I think I also then ran it through a coffee grinder to try to turn it into as small of a particle as possible. And that's the one that the ingredients still get a little bit stuck in my teeth. And it has a nice kind of, the oil gets released when I'm eating it. But I don't like it stuck in my teeth. So I'll need to find a way to make it even more finely ground. And it didn't have enough of the kind of artichoke flavor. I also put lemon and black pepper in that chocolate as inclusions, kind of the way someone would eat an artichoke. So that's one I wasn't really happy with, but I like the idea of trying to find a way to incorporate it. I think next time I'll add a little bit more artichoke to get more of the flavor. And then I'll also try to find a way to get it even more finely ground, and add more lemon, since I think that would really be a nice complement to it. But yeah, it's the only chocolate that I've heard of that uses artichoke.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I see on this, another interesting ingredient. I see Marilyn put in a chat. I would like to see, Marilyn, would you like to talk about avocados? And Shannon, you open your mic. Shannon, I think you're trying to talk, but we cannot hear you. You are muted.
No, I think the question about the avocado was directed to Marilyn, who mentioned it in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Marilyn is saying that her mic is not working, but I can read her comment. She says, I have in dark chocolate cashews, dried bananas, and plantain, all unsweetened. I dried my own fruit and pear with spicy nuts and dried avocados with sea salt. Very exciting. Very exciting. I just want to run back up the chat here so we make sure we get everybody's comments. Solomon is saying because we can't easily get freeze-dried powders, we use a lot of flavored teas to bring the flavor, but sadly not the color. And then
Hello?
Raina would like to know if you caramelize nuts. I'm sorry, did I hear somebody? Solomon, were you trying to talk? I just wanted to make sure I wasn't talking over someone. Okay. Raina asked if you can. Sorry.
Hello?
Yes, come on in.
Yes, I want to find out if somebody has mixed the nibs with the granite, put it in the malanger and then try to temper. How did it blend?
Would you mind, Leticia, repeating your question? What was the product that you added to the?
The granite, if you add it to the malanger and you grind it and you try to temper, does it come out well? How does it blend?
You're mentioning the ground nuts.
Groundnut, yes.
Ground nuts.
Oh, I think she's talking about the peanut. The peanut.
Oh, are you talking about peanuts?
I think
Yes,
that's known as groundnut.
That, yeah, peanut. We call it groundnut.
Thank you for that clarification, Mrs. Balu. So if I understand the question, she'd like to know if anyone is grinding peanuts in the melanger with the chocolate, with the cocoa nibs?
With the chocolate. Before tempering. And how does it blend?
Mrs. Balu?
Just to say no, I was thinking about Reese's peanut butter cups is the one that has a lot of peanut butter inside covered with chocolate. But usually people grind the nuts separate and then the chocolate separate. But I just want to see any of our participants, have they tried it and what is their experience? The only thing I would recommend, Leticia, is if you're trying the groundnut in the small melangers, first you have to powder them. You cannot put the whole nuts in there. As long as you powder the nut and then put it there, it makes a very nice, the butter, the groundnut butter, and then you can make the chocolate separate and then try mixing them. But unfortunately, nobody else is not, looks like they haven't tried this one.
Okay, Raina had a question. If you caramelize nuts to add as inclusion, does that potentially cause sugar bloom? And I think that might have been addressed earlier.
I would think, yeah, that's a possibility. Probably depends on multiple factors. If you caramelize a nut and you're going to be covering it with multiple layers of chocolate, as in the panning operation or even dipping it, then that's probably not going to cause, I wouldn't expect that to cause sugar bloom. Seems like sugar bloom normally comes into play when the chocolate or the finished product is exposed to a lot of humidity and there's moisture in the air that causes the sugar in the chocolate itself to recrystallize on the surface. So I have not, from a texture standpoint, I have not heard of anyone having issues with the caramelized nuts causing sugar bloom within inside the chocolate. I don't know if that helps or not.
Thank you. Marilyn, did you want to offer some comment or feedback?
Yes, I had to go to my phone so that you all can hear me. But anyway, I wanted to respond to Letitia's question about drying the avocado. What I did was I tried it first, just slicing the avocado real thin and putting it on my dehydrator. And I didn't like the way it came out. So what I did with the rest of them, I just salt them and let them sit, because the salt will draw the moisture out of them. And then I put it in the dehydrator and it came out, and it came out pretty good. Came out dry, crispy. So I just add that with some spicy nuts, and then I'll take the take my other ingredients like the plantains or the dried bananas, and then just put them on top of the chocolate once I make them into bars, and then just sprinkle it around. I don't try to mix it into the chocolate. Well, it's not my chocolate because I'm still waiting on Miss Balu to give me that class so I can do my own chocolate. So I'm using cocoa berries, dark chocolate. So that's the way I do my dark chocolates right now.
Thank you for sharing. That's so exciting. I want to try it.
Actually, I
I
have a
would
question
definitely
for all
try.
of you. We have a question for all of you. You know, I want to, with all the special ingredients you're using, where do we find your chocolates? Is there any place that, you know, people can buy it? And maybe you should put it on the chat so that it help people like me who would like to. And Theresa, we love to try new ingredients. And I think, sure, most of the people here are, you know, that's why they're here. So please share your information, how to contact you to order, or do you sell it through somebody else? Please feel free to do.
Also, when this is over, I'm going to make a list of the countries where you all are, and then I'm going to send Mrs. Balu to those countries to get the chocolate and bring it back.
What if I finish eating on the way?
No, 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 no. You have to buy 2 of each, one for me, one for you. Yes. There was one more question in the chat, so I don't want to get too far behind and make sure that we hit all the questions as they come up. Risha is asking, has anyone used cashew nuts or Brazil nuts? That she says that they have access to them in the Caribbean. Roya, yes, come on in.
Yes, Risha, I'm using cashew, but not incorporating in the chocolate as a kind of filling with a mixture with the date paste. So yeah, I'm using cashew nuts and I'm using them in the California. Yeah.
And are there any, Roya, any challenges or any tips or tricks or things that you've learned that you can share?
Yeah, based on experience that I'm learning during this process, is that I cannot use nuts directly incorporated into the chocolate because the problem of fat bloom in the long run, because the level of the fat, especially walnut and pecan. So the bigger amount of nuts I'm using in pistachio, then cashew, and then walnut. So that's a mixture of these things with the date paste as a filling for the chocolate. This is the way we are using that to prevent from the fat blooming in the long run.
Thank you. Okay, there's a lot of folks in the gallery we haven't heard from. We're happy if you'll open your mic or put some questions or comments in the chat. I don't want to do channel my inner Mrs. Balu and start calling on people. I see some people I'd love to pick their brain, but
Also, if you need any questions on any of the Indian flavors, you can feel free to ask. Whatever information I have, I can.
oh, great. Did you hear that offer? Mrs. Balu is offering to share her knowledge and experience with Indian flavors. I preparing for this. I pulled out some of my stash and last. Oh, that just reminded me. I have to make my list since someone I know is going to India soon. But Chitran chocolate. They make chocolate infused with Indian flavors. So turmeric, moringa, classic Indian flavor. And then one of my favorites, the mango lassi for inspiration.
Rudger raised the hand.
Whomever raised your hand, come on in, open your mic. I don't see it on the, yes, come on in, come on in. Is it Rutger?
Yes, that's correct.
Wonderful. Welcome back.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I just remembered something. It's years ago, but we used to make pralines with fresh ginger. They turned out very well. But we also made pralines with coffee from a local coffee grower. But funnily enough, even though the chocolate was good, and all the ingredients in itself that we used tasted good, it came out with a flavor that I can only describe as not coffee, but more like bacon. Does anyone have a clue how this can happen? We made like a caramel with coffee and sugar and whipped cream.
Can I just I ask a clarifying question? Was there chocolate involved? Were there cocoa nibs or chocolate involved?
It was in a layer of first 100% chocolate layer and then rolled into nibs.
I can share a little experience that we've had, and Mrs. Balu, you can corroborate if this is if I'm remembering correctly, there was a fermentation issue that caused a bacon or smoked meat flavor from one of our participants in one of the Bean to Bar workshops.
Yeah, but the thing is that the same nibs and chocolate, we also used it for the ginger pralines, and there is no bacon-like flavor. Only with when you combine it with the coffee. The coffee itself also doesn't. I cannot find any bacon-like flavor notes in it. But somehow these things together turned out wrong. So we stopped making the coffee praline.
Rutger, I have a question for you. Did you roast the coffee before caramelizing it?
Yes, it were not green beans. They were roast beans.
The reason I'm asking is maybe once you roast it, again caramelizing, you're heating it more. Maybe it got over roasted, kind of like a burning, like a, the over roasting sometimes can give off flavors. So maybe next time try, instead of the correct roasting, do the mild roasting and then caramelize it and see if that helps.
Yeah.
Because you say that the same caramel with the ginger, you did not find any problem because ginger doesn't have that much oil. Whereas when ginger, you must have used the dry ginger, right? Not the roasted ginger.
If you make a caramel, you can use fresh ginger.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So whereas coffee, you didn't use the fresh, you roasted it and then caramelized it, so it's heating twice. So see if that's the problem.
That would be interesting to try. I think, yeah, that could be the reason.
Yeah, so you can try with just unroasted coffee and also mild roasted and experiment it and see which one gives you the better flavor, or is it still that bacon flavor is coming from that?
Yeah. Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
We still have a half an hour. So anyone want to jump in with a question, a comment, talk about regional ingredients that you're inspired by, maybe a maker that inspires you? Mr. Balu.
I have a question.
Wait, you were on your own panel.
Yeah, yeah, I'm new panelist heading now. Okay, I'm in 2 Zoom calls now. When we visited some of the chocolate show, I forgot exactly where it is. I saw the critters as one of the ingredients, local critters.
Critters? What do you mean critters?
Yeah, this is small bugs,
Bugs.
very crunchy bugs. So it was, it was an interesting one. A lot of people they bought it, and it was kind of interesting.
Like crickets.
When Shannon mentioned about Shannon mentioned about the anchovies dust, it occurred to me. Yeah, where did I remember this thing that that's people use even the critters as local ingredient.
And I have seen somebody using bacon powder and chocolate.
Okay, Raina raised her hand when Mr. Balu mentioned the bugs. So come on in, Raina.
There was this person that was trying to do value added bug, I don't know, bug snacks at one point. I don't know how she's doing with that, but that reminded me of that. But I was thinking about, I know some makers incorporate corn, maybe like blue corn, into their chocolates, and I bought a bar that has blue corn in it, but I haven't tried it yet. But I was really interested in that ingredient because that's one of the ingredients that comes from my background or culture. And also I have interest in using a particular type of corn. It's called Chicos. It's like a dried, roasted sweet corn. And I was thinking that I might use it as a powder. But then it does have its own sugar or sweetness. So I'm just thinking about that sugar bloom aspect, but I think that would be something different to incorporate into a chocolate.
Yes, that sounds lovely. And you could do it without sugar and use the sweetness from the Chicos to sweeten your chocolate. Mr. Balu, where did you go? I'd like to hear, Mr. and Mrs. Balu traveled the world, so I'd like to hear, maybe you can give us, some, I don't know if anybody could top Mr. Balu and the chocolate with critters, but any other inspirational,
When Balu said about critters, there is a company in Atlanta, it's called Grub Hub. And she is making protein powder from the crickets, from the insects. And she says it's a sustainable protein. And I don't know if anybody has incorporated it into chocolate, but I know that people are trying a lot of new ways to bring a lot of ingredients. But the interesting ingredients that we saw in Colombia, there is one company that they were, instead of chocolate, they call it late choco, latte choco. Yeah. Yeah. So they use a lot of different local fruits, but they don't incorporate it. They just put that on the top as a decoration. And they're very nice, like a lot of new fruits that I never even knew existed. So there are a lot of options. Like in India, like Theresa said, a lot of people are experimenting a lot of Indian flavors like cardamom. They are using it, and the turmeric. Theresa showed me. It says turmeric and black pepper. The reason is when you add the black pepper to with the turmeric, it increases the bioavailability of the curcumin. That's an important chemical in the turmeric that's good for you, antioxidant and other things. So that's why we wanted to have this conversation as, whatever the ingredients you're using, if there is any health benefit, please share with it, so that it will be useful also as a promotional, when you put your bar, you can say I'm using some unique ingredient, and also you can put the health benefit. So it's a double, benefit, right? Because already we know chocolate has a lot of antioxidants and feel good chemicals. And when you're adding the other ingredients, it adds more value. And it helps the customers to buy more chocolate because they want to get the maximum benefit for what they are buying.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up. I had this one, the choco. How do you say it, Mrs. Balu? Late latte chocolate?
Latte choco, like chocolate.
Uh-huh.
I said no. I read it as late choco. I thought it's late, but he said no. It's a chocolate, but they call it chocolate, so it's latte choco.
Yeah, and they have a beautiful bar that incorporates turmeric, and I looked it up, and it is regionally grown in Colombia. The turmeric. It's a beautiful bar, wonderful flavor. And one thing I learned from you is you need the black pepper, but you also need the fat for turmeric. So the chocolate, with the cocoa butter provides the fat and the black pepper. What about you, Dr. Balu?
I mean, I was going to say, I have seen people trying to incorporate um, medicinal herbs as an ingredient, especially some of the herbs that needs to be, and I mean, the like a chewed rather than eating it. For medicinal reason, they said the method of delivery is they will give you the herbal medicine and then they ask you not to chew it, but I mean, sorry, not to just eat it, swallow it. They ask you to chew it. So those kind of stuff, if you can incorporate into the chocolate, then basically when the people enjoy the chocolate, they slowly eat it. So it goes into your body slowly. And also the uh, oral delivery in the presence of cocoa butter fat is an enhanced the direct delivery. So you can also look at the possibilities of including medicinal herbs, locally available medicinal herbs as a inclusion, or even maybe mixing grinding along with the chocolate. Now, I have seen turmeric chocolate. People are trying to use that as a medicinal, nutritional supplement. They try to add the same amount of recommended amount of turmeric into one dose of chocolate. So instead of taking one capsule, then you take the certain amount of so many grams of chocolate, so you get the same turmeric into your body.
Great, great point. And I love that. I can tell myself that my chocolate is medicinal.
Especially the patient compliance, like kids. Then wait a minute. It's the patient compliance is an important thing in the drug development. Like the kids, they don't want to eat my medicine, but you give them a chocolate. So you get two things at them same time.
Great point. Thank you. Marilyn, you want to open your mic?
Yes, I wanted to ask, I think it was Risha that used the corn powder, the corn, sweet corn. And she said the chocolate might come out a little sweet. I was thinking maybe if she tried maybe a little jalapeno dried or chipotle pepper. Maybe that would kind of accent the sweetness and cut it down a little bit. If she mix it with, with that and give it like a two-dimensional flavor in the chocolate. Maybe that would kind of work a little bit. She can, maybe play around with it a little bit.
I vote yes.
Well, I think that'll pair
Well,
pretty good with the corn.
I think so. And then maybe you roasted the pepper so it had that smoky flavor
Yeah.
too. Ooh,
Mhm.
ooh.
Yeah, roast it and let it, dry it real good, or get it already roasted and dried, and just, put a little accent with the corn to cut it down, because corn is sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask, tell her. Maybe she can just, play with it a little bit.
Thank you. Okay, we got about 15 more minutes. Anybody
Julie,
that
yeah, you can.
Dr. Balu, are you talking to us?
Okay. Yeah. See, we have in Georgia next week, actually Tuesday, they have something called Georgia Grown Symposium, where all the agricultural products will be there. So Balu is saying, if you are wherever you are, if you have a local farmers market or local place, you can go and find the local ingredients. Like Balu said, the medicinal purposes, you can learn from them, and then maybe try to incorporate them into the chocolate.
Yes. Julie?
Just a couple of things. First of all, I can't remember who it was, but one of the bigger chocolate makers came out recently with a couple of years ago with a roasted corn white chocolate. And I tried some of that and it was good. Yeah, some sweetness, but it reminded me of kind of the gold chocolate, the caramelized white. Slight corn flavor, but really nice. And I love the suggestions that someone else just had about the spices with that. With the medicinal things, I think I have seen some, I haven't tried it, but I think I recall seeing some combinations of mushrooms, like maybe reishi mushrooms or combined with chocolate. And so that would, I can see that as being something with strong health benefits. I know it would have to be, depends on the country, I guess, but in the US, you just have to be super careful with any things. The FDA is going to clamp down on anything that is, they see as an unproven claim or any claims of health benefits. They're likely to come down hard on that or make you stop making those claims or whatever. So I guess we just have to be really careful of how it's, how we word anything.
Great point.
The healthy ingredients.
Yes, great point. With 15 minutes left, I'd like to again offer an opportunity for anyone who hasn't had a chance to, anyone we haven't heard from, give them a chance to come on in and either put your comments, questions in the chat, open your mic. Okay, I'm going to say forgive me first, but I would like to, I see Emilio's here from Equatorial Guinea, and I would love to know if there are any regional ingredients that he would like to share about. No? Yes? I'm curious to know. Okay. Anyone else we haven't heard from? Giselle, what do you, oh, here he comes.
Hi, Theresa.
Hello, hello. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I have nothing to, I'm more like attendee, just learning from all of you. I have not yet any actual experience in making chocolate or using ingredients, but these are the things that I'm seeing coming in future, very close. So thank you for being here.
Yes, I did know that about you. I think my question was more, are you aware of, or can you share just some regional ingredients that you know of, interesting things that might be potential for your future chocolate making adventures?
Yeah, as being from a very tropical region, Central Africa, between Cameroon and Nigeria, Ghana. So we have I can see the potential ingredients or stuff like chocolate, peanut, maybe also cinnamon. We have avocados, mangoes, plantain, banana, etc. I think those kind of things, and more. We have many variety of bunch of wild trees, stuff that I think deserve kind of research and like to experiment with. So I think many interesting things can come out of that.
Thank you, thank you. You said a very important word, I think, in regard to this topic, which is experiment. That oftentimes this will be about experimenting what flavors go with what particular bean or what way that you're presenting it. So thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
We can sit in a moment of uncomfortable silence and see if someone comes forward.
I'm just curious, any of you do you make drinking chocolate or anything else other than the chocolate bars? So where the adding all these special ingredients may be a little bit easier.
I do see a comment from Giselle in the chat. She says she's unable to use her mic, but she says, I'm thinking of making fruit powders to incorporate into bars such as guava and soursop. So I'm looking into if dehydrating or freeze drying is better.
I think dehydrating is cheaper process, right, Julie? I think, like maybe it's easier you can do it yourself, whereas freeze dryer, you have to buy the ingredient, which becomes a lot more expensive.
My understanding is freeze drying gets a lot more of the moisture out. And so if you want to incorporate it into the chocolate itself, it's better to be freeze dried. However, if you're talking about inclusions on top of a chocolate bar, what I keep hearing from other chocolatiers is freeze-dried fruit gets sticky if you add it on the top. And so dried fruits are better on tops of bars, mendiants, things like that. So depends on what you're doing with it. But if it's going inside the chocolate, freeze drying is superior. Again, on top, dried, dehydrated. But it costs a lot more to get a freeze dryer than a dehydrator.
Radgar, you want to add something?
I just want to quickly throw in that she says, I'm not sure if the natural sugar content of some fruits might affect the powders. Miss Roya, I see you thinking. Do you have something you want to add?
Actually, yeah, I put in the chat about dehydration and freeze drying. Yeah, the first one is the matter of cost. I think dehydration is less expensive than air freezing. But regarding the second question, yeah, I was thinking natural sugar content of some fruits might affect the powder. For example, based my experience, I'm using fruits as a kind of filling in my chocolate, but I'm using only dates. So dates has a sugar, but I'm not using as the powder. I'm using as the paste. But I don't have problem, you know. However, using as powder, I'm not sure about that. That was what I'm thinking.
Sir, you want to add something? I see you raised your hand.
Yes, yeah, I raised my hand. No, you asked about if anyone makes drinking chocolate. We do make drinking chocolate as well. The traditional way in Suriname, it's like more as it is done in the Caribbean, more like little pieces of chocolate. It's not ground. We make it natural, plain. But when you look, I think it's a good source to look at in other flavors, because in the old times a lot of people used like cinnamon, nutmeg stuff but it was for masking of flavors, because the cacao was not fermented very well. But now you have of course we have better chocolate now, but in the traditional drinking chocolate of Suriname, it's called Scrati. They used to put in, they call it Bayronblad, but it's bay rum leaf. It's a kind of laurel. It gives a very distinct flavor to it.
That sounds so very intriguing. Can you say it again? Baylock?
Bay rum leaf.
Bay rum leaf.
Yeah, so it's family of laurel. I don't know what the Greeks in the old days used to make.
Yes.
When they won a competition.
Okay, Mrs. Balu, you got to put Suriname on your list. You're going to go to Suriname.
Yeah, of course. And about experimenting, of course, we have the Amazon in the Amazon jungle. That there's lots and lots of potential ingredients there. You can even make stuff from lianas. You know, I don't know the English word. I think it is lian. You know what Tarzan used to swing from tree to tree. The hanging vines.
Oh.
People make even wine from it. So there's lots of stuff you can use.
Mrs. Balu, you're on mute.
Okay, sir. I was just saying, I have a lot more countries to add to my list. I will make a 100 countries list. So now I have gone only 30, 70 more to go. So one of the thing is going to all these Caribbean islands. They're so close to each other, but I need 1 month vacation to go and visit all the countries there.
Okay, we have just a few minutes left, and I noticed someone just joined. Is that Jacqueline? Would you like to come in and tell us if you're using any local flavors, regional ingredients?
Hi, Jacqueline Massey here, just joined. Sorry about being late. I had a tour of our chocolate factory this morning, so we have a tour going on, so that is why I'm late. But our local flavors that we're using, Not much of it. We don't have much of the vanilla or anything. So I go with my dark chocolate just as is. So, and if it's milk, it's as is. Our cocoa tea or what we got hot chocolate, well, there I will add like cinnamon and like bay leaves. Those things I will add local flavorings. I'll add to it. So yes, I do.
Jacqueline, will you tell us where you are?
I am in Trinidad and Tobago.
Wonderful. Welcome. We're glad you made it, even if it's for the last few minutes.
Yes, yes. Thanks so much.
Okay, we have the last couple of minutes. Nice to see everyone. Nice to see, just call Rutger out just for a moment. I always think I want to make like a couple of little videos about my favorite moments from all of our webinars, and one of my favorite moments is the play with the mice. You'll have to go to YouTube and watch our videos to figure out which video that was and what I'm talking about. Okay, we got 3 more minutes. So, Mrs. Balu, you want to any final thoughts?
I just want to thank all of you who joined today. I think I learned a lot, new ingredients and new chocolate to look forward to. That's the benefit of in this business. We may have a chance to meet all these amazing people and whatever work they are doing, and learn about them, learn about the ingredients. We are learning a lot. Somebody asked, "Are you an expert in chocolate?" I said no, because there is a lot more that I don't know. In our language, they say whatever you know is only like a handful, and whatever you don't know is the as big as this earth. So we feel this education, that's why we feel education is important pillar of CocoaTown. So we also constantly learning from you. So thank you for this thing. So we are learning from each other. So that's what makes this community a great community, because some industries, they say, how come in chocolate industry you're also open? In our industry, they don't share any information. I said, when you eat chocolate, it makes you feel happy. When you are happy, you are sharing the happiness with everyone. So you don't mind sharing, you are not treating each other as a competition, but more as a collaborators. So that's the community feeling that I love the most. So thank you all. I learned a lot, and I hope your time is also worth, because all the people sharing. Thank you so much again.
I'd like to just take a moment to mention, this was a great time. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, everyone. I wanted to mention our next webinar, which is coming up in March, with Kim Wilson. I hope you will all join us. It's going to be another interactive session where we will talk about how, creating community and connecting with cocoa farmers and makers, and how we can better do that. So we invite everyone to attend, because we need you to create this community that we're talking about, of connection, and brainstorm ideas of better ways to connect chocolate makers with the folks without whom we could not do what we do. All right,
Thank you so much, all. I appreciate. I have learned a lot. Thank you.